Hello everyone, it's Kyle and this is my WWE Over the Limit pay-per-view review. And I gotta say that this is the weakest pay-per-view from WWE that we've had this year. There's only actually really one match that's really worth seeing, so if you don't really have to watch this, you can skip over it all and just really catch the one match, which is surprisingly a Randy Orton match. But anyway, we started off with the event with Rey Mysterio versus R-Truth, and this is the craziest thing as well. The second best match of the night is an R-Truth match. It's like, this pay-per-view makes no sense. So we had Rey Mysterio versus R-Truth, and it actually didn't get a lot of time. I think it was under 10 minutes. But, you know, R-Truth kind of looked good. I like him more as a heel, but I don't really see the point in pushing a guy who's like almost 40, unless he actually might actually be 40. Whereas they could be pushing other people to the top, like Christian, you know, who just won the title and lost it on the same week. I'd rather that they be investing into people like Christian and other wrestlers that can, you know, go the distance and actually wrestle, if they're going to be pushing people that are, you know, older anyway. But Rey Mysterio lost the match to R-Truth. It was okay for what it was, 2 3/4, but it was the second best match of the night, so really this is not the greatest pay-per-view at all. And then we had Barrett versus Ezekiel Jackson for the Intercontinental title. I really don't care much for Ezekiel Jackson. Wade Barrett is not the greatest in the ring either, but at least his character's kind of entertaining. And I do know that a lot of people like Jackson, but anytime that he speaks, it just does not seem like he's that intimidating anymore. So he really needs kind of like a manager that can talk for him and kind of do what they did with, you know, Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman. That could work for Jackson, I guess, but he's not that entertaining in the ring. He has had some good matches, but if I remember correctly, it was against like Christian, and Christian is right now the guy. Ever since he came back to WWE back in 2009, he has been the man who knows how to, you know, have and work a good match in the WWE. He knows the style and he knows how to tell a story in the ring perfectly. So it's no surprise that Jackson did have his best matches against Christian. I think Jackson won by DQ or the core. Yeah, I think it was a DQ. So Barrett keeps his title and the core just beat Jackson up. And the core is just really boring to me right now. I really don't know what they're going to do with Jackson now, if they continue this feud or not. But I'm not really that interested anyway. And then we had Chavo Guerrero versus Cara. Now, I really expected a lot more from this match, just because I know that Chavo can go and have a good match, because I've seen like a 5-minute match that he had against Bryan Danielson when he first started off in the WWE in like a dark match, and I had to watch it on YouTube. But it was really entertaining, and I was kind of hoping that this is what this match would be, but I was kind of let down. Some nice maneuvers, but still only about 2 1/4 for this match. I just expected a lot more. And Sin Cara won the match, so yeah. And then we had Big Show and Kane versus CM Punk versus Mason Ryan for the tag team titles. And I was kind of looking forward to this match. I really liked when Punk went and talked to the rest of the Nexus members who were taken out by Big Show and Kane, and he's like, "You're gonna walk this off, right?" Like, he just came back and he's like, "You guys are good, right?" It was just a funny little part that Punk did. And another thing too is that Punk kind of went for like an elbow drop, and he did like the hands in the air, kind of like Macho Man used to do, which was a nice tribute. And then Punk was wearing Macho Man attire on the next night on Raw. So I really thought that was neat of Punk to do. And I'll just take this time right now to say that Macho Man was an awesome wrestler. He was one of my favorites. You know, when I first started watching wrestling, I remember Hulk Hogan, the Macho Man Randy Savage, Jake the Snake, and Bret Hart. Like, there's not a lot of guys that I really remember when I was young. Ultimate Warrior. There's just a few select guys that I actually remembered. I don't remember any of the mid-carders. Just the guys that like really had flashy gimmicks. And Macho Man was one of them, and he was one of my dad's favorites because of his catchphrases and how over the top he was. So I can't really say that I'll miss him because he wasn't on TV, but just knowing that he's gone is sad because, you know, 58 is just too young to go even in wrestling terms. I'm glad though that it wasn't really wrestling related. Apparently he did get a heart attack, but hopefully it wasn't because of anything to do with wrestling, and it's just that he got a heart attack and he passed away. But yeah, kudos to Punk for paying tribute to Randy Savage. So the match was, it was okay for what Big Show and Kane can do in the ring, and Mason Ryan, I'm really not sold on him either. There's a lot of people that on this pay-per-view that I just don't really care for that much, and I think that that's one of the major problems, is that it's a lot of wrestlers that aren't really worth the time yet and need more time to develop in the ring and their characters as well. And I think that that's just what the current state of WWE is right now. They've lost a lot of main eventers, even some mid-carders, that fans were used to, and now they're just trying to push on these new faces and characters, and either pushing old faces that, we never really believed in them before. Like R-Truth before this, if he was ever in, a big match like a Money in the Bank match or an Elimination Chamber match, you knew he was just going to be there to job to someone, and he was not going to do anything with that kind of an entrance into a match, But anyway, it was still fairly good for what it was. 2.5 stars. It's too bad that Punk lost. I would have liked to have seen Punk with the title, and especially because now they put it on David Otunga and Mr. Perfect's son there. I can't remember Michael McGillicuddy. I do like Michael McGillicuddy, but Otunga is just horrible. I can't stand that guy. But yeah, Big Show and Kane won. And then we had Brie Bella versus Kelly Kelly. Divas match. And then, the Bella was thrown out of the ring. The other Bella jumped in and pretended to be Brie. And she won the match. About a star, I think. I wasn't really paying attention that much. And then we had Randy Orton versus Christian for the World Heavyweight title. And I will say that this was definitely the selling point for this pay-per-view and the only match to really see. Because Christian, like I said before, he knows how to tell a story in the ring. And that was one of the driving forces of this match. They had a Christian kind of teased us with going for the same maneuver that got him an RKO and lost him the world title in the first place on SmackDown, but he went for it and he stopped, and then Orton went for the RKO, but then he knew that Christian stopped and he was kind of just there, and then Christian went for the sunset flip, which just looked awesome. And there was a lot of kind of reversals like that, and then when all of a sudden Christian just started chanting for the spear, and he went for the spear, he missed it, and then Randy Orton went for the punt, but he kind of decided against it, and he was kind of trying to figure out if he wanted to go for it or not, because he is facing Christian, who is a face and not a heel, and now because Orton's a face as well, he's kind of regretting doing these kind of things and really injuring people. So he kind of hesitated, and he's like, no, I'm going to do it anyway. But because of his hesitation, it gave Christian enough time to get up and give the spear, and you actually thought that there was a small chance that he could have won the title there again. But alas, he didn't. And then Orton hit the RKO at some point. I can't even remember when. I think it was... Yeah, I don't even remember when. He just hit it. And then Christian lost. So this was still, one of Randy Orton's best matches that he's ever had. It was the best match of the night. But a lot of people are giving this high praise, and I don't think I would give it that much, because it was only about 17 minutes, which is fine for a match like this, but there wasn't a lot of time to develop a bigger story, and I found that there was a few moments where they were kind of hesitating and kind of not going for things, so not exactly stalling, but there was only a few moments where I was really into the match, and the rest was just good or okay or good, not amazing throughout the entire match. So I'd give this about 3 3/4 to 4 stars, but definitely the match of the night. One of the better matches of WWE of this year, probably in the top 5 at least. Easily in the top 5 of WWE this year. And then we had Jerry Lawler versus Michael Cole, and I'm so sick and tired of this. I think it's over. I think that this feud is over, and I'm glad. The match was crap as what you would expect. I mean, Michael Cole is not a wrestler. Jerry Lawler is, 60, 61. Although Jerry Lawler actually can kind of wrestle. He's not bad for his age. It's surprising. But still, against Michael Cole, not going to be a good match. It really relied on a lot of things that were before the match and after the match more so, because Jerry Lawler, he beat Michael Cole. It's about a quarter of a star. Maybe not exactly a dud, because, I mean, Jerry Lawler did kind of do some alright moves, and it wasn't that horrible, as in dud worthy. It was still a quarter of a match. What Jerry Lawler did was he got out Eve, who did her finisher or some kind of flip onto Michael Cole, and then JR came out and he put barbecue sauce on Michael Cole, and then Bret Hart came out and put the sharpshooter on Michael Cole. So you got a bunch of guys, and Bret Hart you did not expect to be there. I didn't anyway. So that was a real treat for the crowd that was there in attendance, who actually got to see Bret Hart and weren't even expecting to see him there. And and then Michael Cole had to kiss Lawler's foot, and that was just gross. That just looked nasty. But yes, hopefully this feud is over and we don't have to waste any more time on this at pay-per-views or TV shows. So big thumb up for that. Now we have John Cena versus The Miz for the WWE title in an I Quit match. And this match really relied on Alex Riley and The Miz teaming up together against John Cena, because anything's allowed in this match. So it was just them constantly beating the crap out of Cena and trying to get him to quit. And it kind of worked okay with The Miz telling Cena that he's going to attack him with a certain weapon, and that he should quit, because it really showed that I find that Miz didn't really want to hurt Cena that bad, and he just wanted the title back, and he had to keep going further and further to finally get Cena to try to say I quit, but Cena just would never do it, and obviously. And another part that I really liked too for a heel was Miz going to Cena fans that were in the front row and telling them to tell John Cena to quit, or else that he's going to keep beating the crap out of Cena. So I thought that worked well for a heel and Miz's character. But still not the greatest match, because it was kind of like they would just attack Cena, tell him to quit, attack Cena, tell him to quit. Cena would sometimes stir a little bit and attack both of them, but he couldn't until the end, where he had the chance to give the FU to Alex Riley onto a table or through the announcer's table. So it was going to be a one-on-one. And then he beat the crap out of The Miz for like a minute and brought him to the front and gave him the STFU. And then The Miz said, I quit. So, not the greatest I Quit match. Definitely not the best I Quit match. But about 2.5 stars. So really, this was not the greatest pay-per-view at all. If you get the chance to see Randy Orton versus Christian, definitely check it out. Other than that, you can basically skip the rest. So I'd probably give it about 5.5 out of 10. The weakest pay-per-view of the year so far. Hopefully, the next few months we'll have some nice stuff. And get Alberto Del Rio back in the ring, because he's a very enjoyable guy. But I also got to say that Christian is on a roll. He's been back for a few months, and already he's had both of the pay-per-views that he has been on. He had the match of the night. So hopefully this continues and he's allowed to have at least 15 minutes per pay-per-view. Alright, goodbye everyone.